So this episode opens up with Min Hwan and Soo Min going down to the river to try and get the first flag, not realizing that it had already been taken. But before they get there, they have like a little moment where Min Hwan goes on about her necklace, about how pretty it is, like the figure didn't buy it in the first place. Meanwhile, Jiwon's in the tent talking to Hee-yoon and Mrs. Yang about something that Ji-hyuk told her about being solid land. At first, she didn't get what he meant, but these two think she was talking about her idiot boyfriend and trying to tell her, like, oh, maybe you should have a little moment, sneaking her into the camper. Like, there shouldn't be any confusion between lovers. I know they mean the best, but come on now. Like, who wants to really cozy up to that fool? So this is when Ji-won says about her plan about getting Min Hwan and Soo Min to hook up that night. Because in her past, when she was in the tent, he did come over and they left and they got to a heated argument. But this time, because she's in the camper and Soo Min's in the tent, they will possibly, hopefully, get together. So Ji Hyuk approaches Ji-won and tells her that it was dangerous and reckless for her to go into the river knowing the risk. But she says she knew she wasn't going to die in the river, and what scares her more than dying is living the same life that she did before for a second time. Like, girl, I don't blame you. Like, take all the risks you need if it means that you have a better future. So they're now walking in the woods, and he asks, like, what's going to happen now that she's got the number one flag? She says she doesn't know, which is understandable, seeing as this never happened before. But she does say that, Min Hwan borrowed money off of her, and he used that money to buy Soo Min a necklace. And that's his go-to move for when he wants to sleep with women, because it's something that he did for her. But she does say that the necklace she had wasn't quite as extravagant, maybe because she might have been easier at the time. So Soo Min sees Ji-won with the number one flag, and she sees Ji-won trying to tuck it into her shirt. And while she's doing that, she tries to sneak up behind her to take her name tag so she can get the flag. It's bit made me laugh so much. I did have to rewind it a couple of times because it's like a little bit of payback where she gets her and tells her like, "Oh no, my bracelet's stuck," but really, she just wanted to like whip your head back and forth just a little bit. So Soo Min does the poor me when the scuffles finish. Ji-won initially walks away, but then she comes back because she feels a little bit bad, and that's when Soo Min tries to do a sneak attack and run up on her and take her name tag. So they have a second scuffle. And at this point, we're not sure who actually has the number one flag, because you would have thought it would be Soo Min because she's taken the name tag. But that's not until we get to, to camp and we see everyone sitting around the fire that we find out that no, it's actually Ji-won that has it, and she will be sleeping in the camper. So Ji-won's washing her hands, and then Soo Min comes over trying to ask if she's happy that she's beaten her. It's like, girl, it's not that serious. But then she's all like, oh, I can't sleep anywhere. And she thought that Ji-won could, and Ji-won's like, no, she's the same. She just did it because it was her friend and she wanted her to, have a comfortable surrounding. But seeing as they're not really friends, like, why would you even think that that's going to happen again? And then you're trying to blame her for the way you are when it's really your own fault. You were jealous of this chick and you've been going out of your way to make sure you take anything that gives her happiness. Like, no one cares about you, Soo Min. Not like that.
잠자리 가리는 거 알면서 나도 잠자리 가려. 그래? 근데 왜 난 네가 무난하게 아무 데서나 다 잘 잔다고 생각했을까? 그래주고 싶었으니까. 네가 싫어졌어.
See, good on you, Ji-won. You told her to her face you don't like her anymore, so she's not going to get the same treatment that she was getting before. So now she tells her that, her and Min Hwan's going to start a family, like she doesn't really need Soo Min so much. This, she knows, was going to be the trigger. Soo Min was going to try her best to now take Min Hwan, and that's what she does by, fiddling with her necklace, and she, lets him know that she needs his attention. So they, scurry off like the little bugs that they are. So Sumin tries to act like, oh, they can't act on their feelings because, she's Jiwon's other half and Minwon is Jiwon's boyfriend. It's like, we both know neither one of you even care about this chick. You're both using her to better your own lives. So they have a little moment. Minwon puts his hand on her face. They look at each other. And that seems to be all it took because next thing you know, this girl's in his lap and they are kissing. And this is all seen by Jiwon and Ji Hyuk. So Ji Hyuk, being the gentleman that he is, covers her eyes and, tells them to walk away. And, she knows that she was expecting this, but obviously it's still going to hurt because you've come back from the past. It's not really been that long since she's found out about the affair and they've tried to kill her. So obviously it's still going to hurt when you are witnessing them betraying you again. So Mrs. Yu and Hyun are walking through the woods and they overhear what they thought was elks. I think it was probably Sumin and Minwan, having a little cuddle session in the woods. But Hyun wants to go and see what's happening, but Mrs. Yang was like, nope, we're not going to do that. Let's just head back to the camp. Meanwhile, Ji-won and Ji-hyuk, they're sitting down and, they're having a conversation. She says that she's glad that she's got him because she's felt lonely for a good while. And then he tells her, like, he's glad that, she's in his life because it was like a well-written novel. And I guess, they both have been there for each other and made each other's lives better. So it's the next day and Minwon goes to see Ji-won in the morning and, moan.
너는 남자친구가 춥진 않은지, 간밤에 무슨 일 없는지 걱정도 안 되디?
안 그래도 걱정돼서 핫팩 가지고 갔는데 없더라.
So Jiwon says she did go there to give him hand warmers, but she knew that he wasn't there because she knew where he was and he couldn't even deny it because he knows for a fact he weren't in the tent. Meanwhile, Sumin, being the little creeper that she is overseeing it, from the little rock face or the hill or whatever, looking down at them talking. I feel like she feels a bit bad. She probably thought like, oh, since that her and Minwan hooked up, that he's going to go break up with her straight away because that's what her previous boyfriends used to do. But we already know Minwan's not like them other guys that you were there with. Like, he is happy to have both of you going. Anyway, they go down to breakfast because, she sees Mrs. Yang and she's like, oh, I don't remember seeing you back here. Like, why weren't you with your tent, I guess? But she just makes up some excuse. And we can see that Sumin's standing there looking a little jealous, watching Minwon cater to Jiwon. Like, well, he should do something at least. Little ass.
생각대로 안 된 것 같은데요.
정수민과 26년, 박민환과 17년이에요. 무슨 일이 있었던 건 확실해요.
그럼
보통 제가 이상하다는 걸 느낀 시점에서 이전 남친들은 저에게 이별을 고했어요. 절 속이면서까지 만남을 가진 건 박민환이 처음이었죠.
Yes, he is more of a scumbag than you thought. So we know it's not going to be over. That little hookup is not going to be enough for you to stop yourself from having the future that you had before. So meanwhile, Min Hwan is there celebrating the fact that he has slept with his girlfriend's best friend and she's in her house, yard, whatever you want to call it, feeling, a little hateful. So she's just there scratching out everyone's face on all their pictures. Like, come on now. Like, you're grown. Is that really what you need to be doing right now? Anyway, they're talking about the project and I think Jiwon had a little hand in this where she's got Minwan and Sumin to pair up to do the Jo Mart tasting event. I don't think she believes that they were going to hook up there, but she thought, it would help their relationship progress. Anyway, when this has happened, Sumin, the little creeper, decides to hand Jiwon a letter, which she then takes outside to read. And it's where, I don't know if you can call it so much of an apology, but she definitely knows how to get people to, think that she's innocent and she hasn't done anything wrong. So Jiwon shows it to Ji Hyuk and says, like, if she didn't know about what was going to happen, like, she might have actually forgiven the girl. Anyway, Ji Hyuk is feeling, a little down. So he goes back to Eunho's restaurant. He's a little drunk again. And he does say that to Eunho that maybe he would be the one. Eunho has no idea what he's talking about. We know it's because he's thinking he might not survive. So hopefully he can find someone else that she can be with that will make her happy. So now we're going to be at the event and they've taken out majority of the stuff out of the car, but the one thing that they did forget to take out was the allergen warning sign. And during this time, Sumin is trying her best to tempt him, like doing a little walk, doing a little backward glance, licking her hand, putting her hair up in a ponytail so he can see her neck being accentuated, doing the absolute most to draw his attention. Anyway, they end up going into the back office, and while they've done that, the Joe Mark's gone out to say, like, why haven't you started the event? So Sumin says that she's writing down something probably to do with the work, but really she's just trying to say that how she wants to sleep with him again. But during this time, we could see that, Mrs. Yang and Ji Won is having a meeting, and Mrs. Yang decides she wants to go thank Mr. Lee for, believing in her and making her the lead in the project. And he says, like, you don't need to thank me. It's because you are capable, which she is. I think she's got a lack of confidence, probably from how she was treated at home by her husband as well as the previous manager. But she manages to get over that with the help of Hyun and Jiwon. They help her boost her confidence, which is a good thing. So, it's nice seeing her be a bit more confident in her abilities and what she can bring to the table. Meanwhile, at the Jo Mart event, you've got Sumin and Min Hwan in the back doing what they do best, which is, you might as well say slacking. She's trying it on with him and then trying to get him to say that he's going to pick her over Jiwon, but he's like, nope, we can all live happily ever together, or all three of them can live together. But then an incident occurs where one of the customers who has a peanut allergy ends up having a bad reaction. They're complaining because there's no allergy sign on there. Sumin, being an idiot, tries to say about, oh, well, they should have known. So Min Wan tries to keep this from the company by paying for the hospital fees himself and apologizing to the couple because he doesn't want it to go back to the company because you never know what's going to happen. Min Wan is saying that it's because everyone likes money that he's paid off with his own. Also, remember, he thinks that he's going to win big because of the stocks that he has with TKU, but he doesn't realize until after he sees the news report that basically that money, that stock's not going to be worth anything. The CEO ran off with all of the money and the investments, and now the company is in serious financial trouble, which means that he is also, especially with everyone trying to sell the stocks to recoup whatever money they can, it's going to be hard for him to get back any money. So he tries to get some off of Ji-won instead.
우리 둘은 될 수 없고 늘 셋이었어야만 하는 운명이었던 걸까?
귀신 들렸어요? 알아듣게 얘기해줘요.
This guy really thinks he's a smooth talker and that he has got the girls in his pocket and that everybody wants him. Like, he tells Sumin that he wants her to be happy and how, are they destined to be a threesome? But really, my man is thinking ahead and thinking, do you know what? I need money. So, I'm going to use the fact that I've lost these stocks and that I wanted to marry G1, and he's trying to put it down as he wants to start a family because he knows that she wants that.
지원아, 우리 결혼할까?
Like, what sort of proposal is this? You can see the man's desperate. Like, you've just taken her to like a little, like, well, hole in the wall restaurant and then asking her if she wants to get married. There's no ring. And he's trying to go on about, oh, I'm broke. And you know that she's good at saving money. So you're trying to use her to get a better life. Also, you're thinking as well that if you get married to her, that you'll also get something from your parents because of that's the agreement that you had. But this guy. Anyway, Ji-won and Ji Hyuk are walking and she tells him about how he's proposed, and that's basically him trying to say he's trying to get money from his parents to invest. But she then also tells him about the cat that she used to feed in college. And he also tells her his little story about, the stray cat and how he saved it. And it's at this point that she realizes it's the same cat. So they go back to his apartment and he tells her, the pin or the code, I should say, to get into his apartment if she ever wants to visit the cat, which, I'm sure that date is significant. So Jiwon also tells him about how he did his official proposal on her birthday and what it was like and how, well, basically how rubbish it was and that she did hate it, but at the time she did go along. She thought she couldn't get any better.
하나, 둘, 셋.
Now, I can understand proposing on a budget, but seriously, he could have done way better than what he did. Like, that was, I don't even know what to call it. It was a whole lot of mess, like a whole lot of mess. So now we see, some droids flying up in the air. They're at some kind of villa, and you see that Juwon is standing there when she looks up into the sky at all of these, the droids, and they spell out Spring Day, which makes you know that it's Ji Hyuk. It's like a little message between the two of them because you can see the blue heart, which is basically in relation to her father and him drawing the heart on the money. You've also got the cat because they both shared an experience with, helping out this little ginger tabby in college. And then Spring Day, a song that they both like from BTS, which hasn't at this time been released yet. And I love how Min Hwan still goes ahead with his proposal, sees all of this happening, and doesn't actually know the significance of what it's relation to. He just thinks it's like some kind of weird event that is going to help him make the proposal better. So it now changes to "Will you marry me?" And at this time, obviously, we know she's going to say yes because we need Sumin to get jealous and try and take Minwon. And you can already see like her face. She's not impressed. She's hating this, and she fully intends to break up this marriage. And Chuan is like, yes, please marry my husband. Right, so that's all for this episode. So please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.